Hey everybody, this is Izzy here. Welcome to another review. I am your host Izzy, and welcome to my cinema library. Today's review, I understand there's going to be people who have an acquired taste to this director. As far as his artistic capabilities is concerned, as a music artist, there are a few songs I like by him here and there. I'm not a huge fan of his music, but when it comes to his directorial vision as his cinematic films, I do enjoy him for the most part. I think he's a very capable, creative, and passionate director who has this unbridled adulation for the classic of horror films. And today's review is based on the 2007 reimagining slash remake Rob Zombie's Halloween. It is the reimagining slash remake of the 1978 classic film of the same name that was directed by John Carpenter. With having said that, the differences between the 1978 film and the 2007 is very much a night and day transition as far as a stylistic, cinematic view is concerned. With the 1978 John Carpenter version, it is more focused on the atmospheric element of Michael existing in a world where he is literally, you could define him as a force of nature. And it's still, to this very day, my favorite horror film of all time, by far. Still, I could watch the 1978 Halloween almost every single day and never get tired of it. And I could watch it and go to sleep with it. I mean, it's that much of a phenomenal film. I can remember when my mom rented it for me, and how I remember her saying that was the first film that her and my dad went to on a date. And at the time, in 1978, that was truly one of the scariest horror films of all time. And I think the first time I watched the first Halloween may have been, I want to say it was in 1993, 1994. It was somewhere up in there. And the music, more than anything else, scared me than anything in the world as far as horror film is concerned. I watched everything from Hellraiser, Friday the 13th, and even Chucky. But Halloween just what that did for me as far as fear, when you think about the fear, it really dramatized and instilled sincere, authentic fear within me. But the 2007 is very much different because it's, rather than us not knowing what drives Michael to commit the acts that he does, this one, you find yourself being treated to a backstory. And the 2007 film stars Michael McDowell, Sherry Moon Zombie, which is no surprise when it comes to a Rob Zombie film production, Scout Taylor Compton. Then you have Brad Dourif. Then you have Tyler Mane, who plays the iconic Michael Myers character, and even Danny Trujillo. The thing about this film, as I mentioned, is the fact that with us being treated to a backstory, we are given the answers as to why Michael is behaving the way he does. And you think about, okay, he's grown up in an abusive household, and while there's nothing wrong with the mother being a stripper, you think about, okay, the father that she's married to, a stepfather, is an abusive, unlikable, profane, violent individual. His sister, who neglects him all across the board, on top of the fact that he is being bullied at school. So you think about all those factors that are coming into play with Michael transitioning from or even then, when you really think about it, there's still hints of him being disturbed when it comes to the animals. And you think, okay, well, given the environment that he's grown up in, why wouldn't he be acting out in a violent fashion? And that's, as I mentioned, that's where it stylistically and thematically differs from John Carpenter's vision, whereas it's more about the unknown, the fear of the unknown, when you look at Rob Zombie's version. And even by his own admission, it's more presented the fact that this is a true psychopath. And that, to me, is where I feel that it loses its luster as far as a genuine horror is concerned. If you're able to separate the 1978 film from this one, then I view this as a great film. You have to be able to look at it on its own merits and state, okay, it is what it is. This is Rob Zombie's own vision of the franchise, of the story. This is a great film. And I do view Rob Zombie's, this one in particular, as a great film. It's very much enjoyable. It's entertaining. It is what it is. It is very over the top with its violence. Tyler Mane's performance, compared to the others, is very much animated and more over the top and brutal and gruesome. And what I do love about Tyler Mane's presence is how hulking, how tall Michael is. And while I do admit, I don't like when when it comes to Michael, I've never been a fan of seeing the eyes of the actor within the mask. When I think of Michael, and you think about the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes, and how you don't see the eyes, you see nothing. You see blackness. You see absolutely pure nothingness behind the eyes. That's what I love about the other incantations, even the recent Halloween. The fact that you just don't. It really. When I think about the boogeyman, I think of Michael Myers. I think of just a face that is completely blank and eyes that have nothing there. Um, Michael McDowell's performance as Dr. Samuel Loomis is a very good performance. Is again very different from what we remember with Donald Pleasence's performance. Whereas the Samuel Loomis from that universe is determined and passionate to bring Michael down. He knows what he is, and he is not. He's afraid of him, but at the same time, he's not afraid of him. And he has this unbridled, passionate contempt for this evil. Michael McDowell's performance of Samuel Loomis, again, as I mentioned, very different. It's more along the lines of a tragic friendship, and he's more concerned. And while afraid, he is looking to try to make a name for himself on top of hoping that there's a way for him to get through the exterior mindset of Michael. But I do enjoy. He was actually one of the few actors in the performances that I was looking forward to as far as the film is concerned. Because I've always enjoyed the work of Michael McDowell. I found him to be a very fascinating talent from Clockwork Orange, and it's just I was very curious to see how he was going to bring Samuel Loomis to life. Scout Taylor Compton as the iconic Laurie Strode, very much different from the Jamie Lee Curtis performance. In this one, she is very much looking like a high school student, a precarious high school student. And Michael, for all intents and purposes, you're not exact with Rob Zombie's vision. You're not exact. You know why he's going after Laurie, but at the same time, you're not exactly sure what he's going to do when it comes to him finding her. And that's where he loses this genuine fear for me personally. But I do enjoy the film for what it is. There's a lot of classic songs in the film. There's great music. There's great atmosphere. Even though it's not as subtle as a John Carpenter film, it still manages to maintain enough of a respectful tribute to what made the original so great. And Rob Zombie does a fantastic job with his utilization of the cameras and being able to get very memorable performances out of his actors and actresses, and it just has something special to it. Even though nothing will ever top what the 1978 film managed to accomplish for that particular year, and even throughout the years, I still managed to look at this one in particular as a very much respectful tribute. It's different while still managing to incorporate some magical moments. You have to be able to discern the fact that this will never ever be as great as the original. The theatrical and the director's cut present a lot of different narratives, and that was another thing I wasn't necessarily a fan of, is the fact that there were certain directions that Rob Zombie went into as far as the outcomes, as far as the finality outcomes of the characters. If there were certain instances in the theatrical cut where it was pretty obvious that Michael killed this individual. I mean, flat out killed this individual, but yet he showed the same character manages to show up in the sequel. So it's just one of those things where you look at it and say, okay, well, I could still separate those two instances and still find a way to enjoy it for what it is. And another thing that's very different compared to the original is how much more violent it is, how much more brutal, gruesome, and bloody. I mean, there's a lot of blood to be spilled in this film, and how virtually monstrous and full of rage that this Michael is. And while the other ones, he did have a lot of rage, this one, he's just flat out doing whatever he can to just eliminate his target. So, but having said that, I do enjoy 2007 Halloween. It's very much one of those type of films where I could put it in my DVD player and still enjoy it for what it is. Even the first Halloween, the 1978 film, is still one of my favorite horror films of all time. I mean, top notch by far. I don't think there will be another horror film rather, that's going to remove it from its spot. But Rob Zombie's Halloween, I have to give it a 5 out of 5, 2 thumbs up. Still very much one of those entertaining cinematic portrayals where you know what you're getting when it comes to a Rob Zombie film production, and the actor, the actresses, the actor, excuse me, the actor performances is still very much quality. Um, I don't believe when you watch a Rob Zombie film production, you're expecting something very tour de force as far as powerful emotional acting is concerned. You're not looking for anything deep and philosophical. However, it is what it is, and I do find myself going back to it and watching it from time to time, and still managing to enjoy it. But again, still have to give it a 5 out of 5 stars. If you have watched the film, let me know what you thought about it. If you haven't watched the film, I do recommend it. Provide a like on my Facebook, provide a like on my YouTube, and even a comment. I'm not sure what my next review will be, but however, you will be hearing from me again. My friends, take care and be safe. Peace out.